Hey everybody, this is Pastor Coda just continuing through the videos over the COMA method, seeking to prepare home group leaders, seeking to prepare home groups in their discovery of God's Word through the COMA method. The first video tackled context. What is it that comes before my passage? What is it that comes after my passage that I need to discover? The second video was observations. What are some things I need to look for within my passage of study? And of course, we've been using Matthew 13:53 to 58 as our example passage. This is the first passage we will begin with as we jump back into Matthew in a couple of weeks here. And so now we move on to the meaning of the text. This is really important. It's not enough to just do the study of context and observations. If you stop there, you'll come away with a lot of knowledge and a lot of fun information. But if it doesn't lead you to conclude the meaning of the passage as the author intended to mean it, then you can't cross the final bridge into application. And so whenever we're looking for the meaning of the text, we can only compile the meaning of the text based upon our research in the text. So we've done our research, we've done the contextual research, we've done our observations. Now we should be able to safely say, based on my findings, I'm now determining that the text means this. And one thing that I always try to do every single week is, after doing all of my discovery, after doing all of my homework, I want to put the meaning of the text into a simple sentence. Maybe some of you have heard me from the pulpit doing this when after the introduction to the sermon, I call it the big idea, or I call it the main argument. You know, this morning I would like to argue before you this one thing, this one sentence. This morning I would like to give this one big idea, and the big idea is this, and it's always in one sentence. If you can synthesize, if you can funnel down the meaning of the passage into a single sentence, then I think that's really helpful. So our passage that we've been studying is Matthew 13:53 to 58. I'm not going to read the passage this time. I'm just going to remain as terse as I can. But I think the meaning of the passage likely is something to this degree. It could be said like this: faulty expectations of the Messiah will lead to faulty faith in the Messiah. A faulty expectation leads to a faulty faith. You could say that. That's what the passage is about. These individuals in Nazareth, in his hometown, and even his own household, they had faulty expectations of the Messiah, and so they had a faulty faith in the Messiah, or a lack of faith in the Messiah. Maybe you could come up with another one-liner, and it could be this: familiarity doesn't necessarily lead to faith. Just because you're familiar with a subject doesn't mean you believe in that subject. And so, you know, here's this hometown of Nazareth and this household of Jesus. Oh, they're familiar with him. They've known him for 30 years. They've grown up with him. They know who he is, but familiarity sometimes can be dangerous. And so maybe what you're saying is, hey, the meaning of this text is that their familiarity didn't lead to faith. Maybe their faulty expectations led to a faulty faith or a lack of faith in Jesus. And so what you want to do is you want to find a sentence that is going to best represent what Matthew is trying to argue first, but you also want it to be memorable. You also want it to be based out of your research. You're trying to transition from what Matthew was doing with the text to what we are supposed to do with the text. If you can find a one-sentence meaning for the passage of study, then I think you're in a helpful place. Another note I have here, just a little bit more explanation. Their lack of faith, not his lack of power, kept him from doing miracles among them. Let me say that again. Their lack of faith, not his lack of power, kept him from doing miracles among them. I said that because in Mark chapter 6, verse 6, it says that because of their lack of faith, he could do no miracles there, except that he prayed over a few people who were sick and they were healed, and then he marveled at their lack of faith. So based out of the research and based out of my biblical contextual study from Mark 6, I kind of added that in. But nevertheless, this is how you find the meaning of the text. You do context, you do observations, it gets you to a simple one-sentence meaning. All right, hope that helps. For video number 2, we now move on to application.